Kia ora and welcome back. We apologise for the delay. I just want to explain. So obviously we had the report last week. We had legal advice on that report and some of the options, but it became apparent over the weekend that we were split, and obviously this morning there was a number of questions and there was a number of ideas that we needed to explore further. So we've had the opportunity to do that this morning and at lunchtime, and I appreciate your patience as we come to this. Obviously, this is an issue that is pretty polarising. I know there's a lot of different views. And we also have further considerations around what that looks like as governors, despite some of our personal opinions, and it's about trying to make the best decision that we can, given all those constraints. So please understand that's where we're coming from in this. So I'd just like to invite the staff back, just if there's any further questions that have come up since our meeting this morning. Has anyone got any further questions? The Crowther?
Were notes taken of what the legal advice was?
They're all recorded. Yep. Yeah, Councillor Kura.
Perhaps for the sake of our people, could we have a quick verbal summary of the outcome of our legal advice this morning? That be appropriate?
Well, it's legal advice. I think council could consider waiving legal privilege and make those tapes available if they deemed it was appropriate. But at this stage, I wouldn't like to make that decision in haste.
And the desire to offer some level of transparency around our legal position.
Yeah, I guess I can give a very brief summary of some of the issues we discussed. So I guess ultimately what this comes down to is there is a legal directive issued by the Director General of Health, and there has been a number of court cases that has discussed this, and in all cases it has been found to be legal by the courts. Now we also understand that there is an issue there around the Director General considering the Bill of Rights and whether that is being I guess impacted by this directive, but that is still ongoing, and there's more court cases next year. So I guess this is a question a lot of people have asked, is around liability and personal liability, particularly around the governors around the council table. So just so you understand that, if we act illegally or outside the law and we cause loss, then that potentially can be charged back to the councillors that made that decision to act outside the law or illegally. So that is the personal liability. And I know there has been a lot of questions from the community, saying, well, the Director General's not going to implement this. There has been some sort of things, I guess, said around that, but that's no guarantee that she won't. and that is an issue for us. And I guess, you know, what we're also discussing is can we go and get an interim order, you know, for this directive to be effectively delayed until all those court cases. And I think generally we would love to get to that point, you know, where we could delay it. Again, the advice is, you know, if she threatens with penalties, we could absolutely go and get an order. Whether that order is successful is another matter. But again, we still potentially have liability for one, the upfront costs of capital, as well as those fines going forward. So that's sort of the position I guess we're in, and you know, we're trying to find a place. I think generally we don't want to, you know, I guess there's some real question marks around the safety of fluoride. There's also some probably more around this council table around the impaction of Bill of Rights, and you know, that is something that absolutely we've been trying to find a solution. And you know, there hasn't been any legal way around that, I guess, in most of these cases, and we've kind of gone down a number of routes. So that probably summarises, I guess, where we're at. I don't know if there's any of the other councillors that may want to raise any other issues that I may have missed, or clarify anything more. I guess we also did discuss, you know, can we get an order just to extend this out? But again, the advice is that that's unlikely with the previous cases that have been within the council, have been with in front of the court. So yeah, that's where we find ourselves at the moment. Yeah,
Thank you, Mayor. I guess I'd like to see clarity then, if that's not what I heard at the very end of our legal advice. That I heard that would apply in the earlier legal advice. That was the advice we got. But at the end, I did not get any impression that it would be unlikely because of the New Health case, which was the original reason why it was deemed unlikely. So when we spoke to a specialist in that area of law, my understanding it was just indeterminate. Like, we don't know whether we will get that if we applied. The only way we'd find out is to apply.
The legal advice did clarify that if we waited to do that, we would be acting unlawful in the meantime.
Yes, that's the comment I very clearly got from legal advice, that irrespective of any other actions, if we don't comply by the 24th of October, we are unlawful.
Right, shall we put the original motion? Yep.
I would like to foreshadow an alternative motion, please.
Can we consider that motion, please?
Shall I suggest what it is or not?
Yeah, you can speak to it.
So in terms of the legal advice we have received, and in terms of, for me personally, I like to try to be lawful. I think we're in a really difficult situation. We've had a directive from the Director General of Health. We have asked for a delay in decision. We would like to have more understanding of court cases that talk about the Bill of Rights. We would like a personal assurance from the Director General that fluoride is safe. Having heard more evidence from overseas, but our legal advice today is that it is we would be in a unlawful not to comply with the directive of the Director General of Health. And for that reason, I would put up a alternative motion acknowledging a preference to wait for the court case to be resolved and for personal assurance from the Director General that fluoride is safe and that adding fluoride involves no justified limitation on the right set out in the Bills of Rights Act. Legal advice received requires that in order to remain lawful, Council will take the only option available and comply with the directive of the Director General of Health to fluoridate the potable water system of Tauranga starting on the 24th of October 2024 to meet the directive deadlines.
Up the top of the screen for some people to see. It's at the bottom at the moment.
Oh, just scroll.
We just
Scroll down.
that's it. Oh. So you're looking at E?
Yeah.
So you'll need, I think you'll still need to do the votes and resolution.
Yeah.
Still need D1.
I'll have to be the second E.
Okay, so are you happy, Jen, if we put D1, we just have to revoke the previous,
Yes, of course.
and we can take out 2. Okay. Okay, so we now have an alternative motion. Have we got a seconder? Councillor Curate. Now I'll ask Jen, have you said all you want to?
I just want to again say it's a very uncomfortable situation the Director General puts us in, but I know from myself that I don't have the, I believe that her assurance is that she has still put the directive out and that she is asking for it to be complied with, and as a lawful citizen and a lawful councillor, I believe this is the only option we've got ahead of us. Councillor Curate.
Yes, I will always take the lawful approach, and I think that I think that was unlawful. So, but in this particular case, I think the issue is with Wellington, and the noise needs to be made there. If this council has a directive from Wellington, the government, in terms of what this council should do, we should abide by it. But that being said, there are real issues that the central government need to take into account, and I'm hoping the not Attorney General, the Director General of Health does the takes into account the recent developments and perhaps changes her directive, and then this council will do as we're told.
I can't support the current motion, and I guess personally I have some real question marks around safety, and I have actually written a letter to the Director General, which I'll table here, that I sent on Friday, and where I have an issue is I want confirmation that the Director General has looked at all the relevant and reviewed all the relevant evidence since the 2021 update to the 2014 Gluckman report. Obviously, in the last few weeks, we've had further reports out. So I'd like her to consider that evidence and give us, her. I guess once she's viewed that, that she still believes that it is safe for the whole community, and there is no risk of reducing cognitive ability or IQ. I'd also secondly like her to confirm that she has considered the Bill of Rights and that it does not give unjustified limitations on that. And I think, that would be something that, I would like to see the Director General come out and give us those assurances if she's going to double down and ensure that we actually fluoridate our water. I think it's the least that she can do, that she can put her hand up and tell us that those things are true. So I hope to have a response, but that would be where I see it, that we potentially could ask her to to give us those assurances, and that would certainly help in my decision. But as it is, I'm not supportive of this motion. Thank you.
Councillor Crowther.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I think we are, I echo the comments that Councillor Schooler made. We're in a very, very difficult position, and I think the staff have been very helpful and the legal advice has been helpful, and I think we've all spent a considerable time looking at this. And I do want to say that I think, everyone has given it a lot of consideration from the perspective of weighing up that the community is quite clearly divided on this, but that there is a legal directive. For me, I'm struggling to support this motion because I guess, as I've said to you in our session with the legal advice, that for the June 2024 judicial review, the comment by the lawyer for the Director General, which we heard today, was legal confirmation that can be considered as a comment directly from the Director General herself, stated there is no indication that the Director General would take enforcement action in relation to the directions. So whilst it is a legally binding directive and there is a risk of consequences for sure, it's not a complete precedent that Tauranga City Council is not compliant with a government directive. And we just heard in the previous meeting there was another example of where we're not at the moment. So the question is really the financial consequences of that weighed up against the risk of it being enforced, weighed up against the issue itself around the Bill of Rights. And I think every council will have their own sort of weightings on each of those issues. For me, the big thing is that we still have time, and as we heard at the end of the legal advice, that there is an option for us to add to what was communicated on the 10th of October in the letter that the Mayor sent, to actually seek clarity around whether the Director General still stands by that statement in a New Zealand Court of Law, that she would not take enforcement action, or there's no indication that she would, whether she stands by that comment, because that was used by the judge, then providing another alternative, which is to take interim orders. Now, I'm aware if we took interim orders, if they were granted, and if the Bill of Rights case was not that upheld the Director General's right for mandatory fluoridation, that we could be subject to fines. The issue is, I think, that it would be a very unusual thing in a New Zealand legal system to have the Director General say there's no intention for enforcement, that she's taking an educative approach, and then with all our best intentions to try to capture a very complex situation for our local communities, for people across the country, the moving science on it, the efficacy, all those issues, waiting for that to be determined. Once that court case is decided, it seems strange that if there was any intention to enforce fines, that she would have made in a court of law that statement. So I would rather seek that out proactively, to try our very best to comply with the law, that we've got 10 days from now to do that. But I think if we pass the motion as it is, we're going against the very decision that we made on the 26th of August. This is the logical endpoint of what we decided on the 26th. I think we all knew we would get to this point. So I sort of question why we voted that way then, and then we get to a point which gets to where we can actually do something about it, and we decide not to do anything about it. I guess that's what I'm struggling with. I understand other people have different views, but for me, I can't support that motion as it is.
Councillor Morris.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Question through you to Councillor Crowther. Are you seeking to propose an amendment to the resolution on the table around those 10 days?
I'm happy to do that. I guess for me, we've only just got some verbal legal advice around it. I don't think I have the wording, because as you know, we sort of finished that discussion fairly quickly, so we get back up here. So for me, thinking about it, I think I'd want legal advice around the potential wording for that, because to me, that's the missing step. What you said and what the advice we got, which was that there is an opportunity to do that. And I think I would like to take that opportunity to do that, but I don't know what the wording should be, because I think we need that to be legally appropriate. And I think that was the essence of the advice.
Councillor Morris.
Thank you. Notwithstanding that answer, I'll allow you to gestate on that while I'm speaking, and if an amendment is forthcoming, I may, subject to the debate, may or may not endorse it. This has been a difficult one for me. I haven't had the level of concern that many others have had in terms of the health aspects, but my significant concern has been around the Bill of Rights Act and the imposition of something on people akin to what was imposed upon them only a couple of years ago, and for which many people lost their jobs because they stood on principle and suffered extreme financial hardship. So for me, it's always been around the Bill of Rights Act. And I think that it's demonstrable that successive governments in this country have not upheld the Bill of Rights Act to the level that it was originally intended to be. And so I want to acknowledge the folks in the gallery today who have suffered as a result of their rights being impinged. We've tried very hard, as I want to echo Deputy Mayor Schooler's comments, tried very hard to find a way in which council can act without being in breach of the law. And there are remedies that council could seek once we breach the law. And that could be seeking an interim injunction, it could be seeking interim orders. However, in order to get to that stage, we would have to end up being in breach of the law on the 24th of October. And for me, that's where the line is crossed, because I swore an oath on the 2nd day of August just this year that I would execute according to the best of my skill, judgment and ability in the best interest of Tauranga City, the powers, authorities, duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of Tauranga City Council by virtue of the Local Government Act, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act, or any other act. So I have sworn an oath to uphold the law as it relates to this council, and that's why I have to, with a heavy heart, support this resolution. The other thing I would like to add to that is, if this council acts unlawfully, even for a period of time, and seeks remedy, I have experienced and seen in the past where bad actors, as I can characterise them in our community, who do not value democracy, can use that as an example and as a weapon in order to try and remove democratic representation and accountability from our city. Because I've seen it before. I've seen bad actors who have sought to frustrate and keep democracy away from the people of Tauranga. And whilst it might not happen overnight, it can be the start of a process which ends up in the entire city of Tauranga losing their right to vote in democratic representation. And we can't afford to go back there again. What this council has inherited is an $85 million deficit from Crown Commissioners who were financially imprudent, in my view. And there is a $100 million deficit forecast in 25-26. We can't afford as a community to go back there. So that's part of the reason. And lastly, in terms of personal liability, yes, it is something that we have to be cognizant of. My family's paid the price for me standing and dying on a hill for good reasons for the public in this place before. 3 months in, it's a bit early to be doing that again on this particular issue, in my view, given that I swore an oath to uphold the law. So I do support the resolution.
Is there any other councillors want to speak? Councillor Taylor.
I'd just like to say that it hasn't been an easy decision. I fully support Deputy Mayor Schooler and what she's saying. And I also was going to say exactly what Councillor Morris said about taking an oath. We all took the oath and we're not allowed to act unlawfully, which if we don't start fluoridating on the 24th of October, we will be unlawful. So support Deputy Mayor's motion, and she should be the victim of your wrath for acting within the law.
Councillor, sorry, we'll start with Roseboom.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I accept all the statements being made here today by all the council and all my colleagues. This has been a very challenging road. I've never disagreed that the Director General has the right to do what he and now she has done in this situation. The process followed, I believe, in my own opinion, is flawed. She's failed to interpret the Bill of Rights in the way that most of us as general New Zealand citizens do the Bill of Rights. There's been, as far as I can tell, no risk assessment, no implication of the Health and Safety Act. And she's basically mandated us to do something that a large proportion of the community find very unpalatable, take away from our rights to make a choice. Whether or not we can force the Director General to stand up in public and say that this is perfectly safe and that she's totally liable for all the downstream effects, I doubt that. Do we have the time to go back through the courts and relitigate? Again, it puts us as elected members at risk. Because as has been stated here, we've all sworn an oath to act in accordance with the Local Government Act, but as it's currently written, I cannot support this motion.
Councillor Schuller.
Yeah, just from me, thank you, Chair. Nothing really new to add other than just to Councillor Morris has probably explained my view as well, so I won't repeat it, but I'm not as eloquent as he is as well. But also, so on the back of that, I too will support the motion. I know it's very tough and at a personal level, at a whole lot of levels, we're talking about our health and we as a group, I know, have talked through this, and we have got our advice. And so where it sits with me at the moment is with the motion. Thank you.
Any other comments? Councillor Baker, you.
Kia ora tātou. I support the sentiments that have been shared. There's probably not much more than I can add, so I support the motion as it stands.
Councillor Crowther.
Yeah, I'll move a proposed amendment, which is to wait until the 24th of October or 23rd of October 2024 for the Director General to respond before implementing this resolution. What's that? And but in order for that to make sense, we would need to actually correspond. I'm not sure how to frame this up in the time we've got, but to actually explicitly ask her about the statement around the enforcement, because that, I think that's, from my understanding, that is the single biggest issue around that Bill of Rights concern. And if we're not taking out interim order, the issue seems to be if she's not going to enforce it, then I don't quite understand why we would do it when we don't want to do it.
Sorry, can we just,
To wait until 23rd of October 2024 for the Director General to respond before implementing this resolution.
you want further respond to further correspondence?
Yeah, to further.
So, yeah, I guess, what if she doesn't respond by the 23rd of?
I'm presuming that the motion is that it would be implemented on that date to meet the legal guidelines. So it's to, but we haven't actually asked the question of her. We asked in the motion last time. We asked, if I can find it. Assurance that Tauranga City Council will not be subject to financial penalty, but we didn't explicitly address the comments by the Director General and the court through the judicial review, which is, I guess, the issue that I'm trying to address. Now, in the same way that the original motion that was put also gave the possibility that she wouldn't respond in time, this also gives the possibility she won't, but at least we ask the question explicitly, which was what part of that legal advice at the end of our legal advice, that was an option we were given. I guess I'm saying I would like to pursue that.
So I think it's the 23rd of October. Yeah, okay, we'll just adjourn while we sort this out, and then we'll come back. Meeting adjourned. Okay, we'll re-adjourn, please. So we have an amendment added to the motion, so I'll just ask if councillor Schooler would be comfortable supporting this, as well as councillor Schuler as the movers and seconders.
Correct.
Oh, sorry, correct.
I need a bit of time.
Yeah, no, have a read.
Seconded by councillor Curran.
Oh, so, okay, I'll read the amendment. Amendment proposed by councillor Crowther is sends a further letter to the Director General of Health to request an urgent reply by 22nd October as to whether enforcement action will or will not be taken if TCC does not comply with the directive. This letter is to note the Director General's statement in the June 2024 judicial review. If the response to the letter as per E is that enforcement action will not be taken, then TCC will not proceed to fluoridate the water from 24 October 2024. If subsequent to the letter being sent as per E, either a response is received that enforcement action will be taken, or no response is received, then TCC will proceed to fluoridate the water from 24 October 2024.
Question?
Yes.
So does that mean if the response is that enforcement action will not be taken, does that put us into a situation where we are acting lawfully? No. Actually, I do care.
So firstly, I'll ask councillor Schooler and councillor Currat whether you'd support the addition.
The motion was put forward based on a lot of discussion and based on legal advice, and supported strongly by our commitment to uphold the law. And this addition reverses that, but leaves us in a position of being unlawful, which I don't support.
Okay. So, councillor Crowther, if it's not supported, but are you prepared to obviously put this motion up? Put this amendment up, sorry?
Yeah, I'm happy to put it up and see what happens.
I'll second the motion. Sorry, the amendment. Now, councillor Crowther, would you like to speak to this?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I'm aware it sort of drew out the meeting, so apologies for that. And yeah, I do thank staff for being able to craft this. I think it's clear to me that there is strong view around the council table that we are not in a position to take an interim injunction, according to the majority of councillors. So I guess the way I see this is that it leaves hanging the issue of whether the Director General made a statement in a court of law that was meaningless, effectively. So if she stated then, effectively through her lawyer, that she would, there's no indication she would take enforcement action. If we can then clarify, and if she then has the courtesy of responding to us in time, at least that doesn't leave that issue hanging, because to me that is, given the context of everything, that is the issue that most members of the public who have a concern around this are taking to be sort of the key issue, which is, can councils wait for the Bill of Rights decision? The reason they're not is the threat of enforcement. If she verbally or if she in writing sort of says that she has no plans to enforce, then to me, I would take her in her legally appointed position. If she's saying that, I would be happy to accept that. I know it's still not following a legal directive, but the fact would remain that she has said she's not going to enforce it. So to me, that would count for quite a lot.
Thank you, Councillor Crowther. I don't really have anything more to add, but you know, I support it because I'm prepared to do anything we can to get to a point where we sort of explore all the avenues. I don't see this is really there's any detriment to this. Obviously, if they weren't going to take enforcement action, then I'm happy to take that risk of being outside the law, but not being fined. So that's all I'll say. But would anyone else like to speak to the amendment? Councillor Taylor.
Still pretty clear that we're operating outside the law, so I agree with Councillor General.
Is there anyone else? Yep.
Now, I'd like to thank Councillor Crowther for this. It doesn't give us a lot of wiggle room, but we've got a little bit. It would be nice if the Director General would actually send us a letter and reply to this within time. It would be very nice to see what she has to say on it. And if she could even preempt next year's court case and say that she does believe or not believe in the Bill of Rights, would also be very helpful. Yeah. But I do support it as it is written.
Anyone else like to speak, or should we go to a vote? Councillor Morris.
Wondering if the mover and seconder would accept an amendment to the amendment if, and it's in relation to the end there, it says then TCC will not proceed to fluoridate the water from 24th October 2024 until the conclusion of the Bill of Rights Act judicial review process, or another direction from the Director General.
Councillor Crowther.
Through the chair, can I ask Councillor Morris to just clarify the last few words, just what the intent of that is?
It puts the onus, well, the whole resolution puts the onus back on the Director General where it should be. But in addition to that, for me personally, the Bill of Rights Act case is the nub of the issue. I don't share the wider concerns around public health, but I seriously have concerns around the Bill of Rights Act. So I would not want that to be an open-ended no until never. I think that Bill of Rights Act process has to be concluded, or that we receive another direction from the Director General of Health subsequent to that.
Just through the chair, so my personal view, I'm happy for the Mayor to have his view on this, that I'm happy with the first part of it. Can you just repeat the wording? So until the decision on the Bill of Rights
judicial review
judicial review.
process.
Or another direction.
Or a subsequent direction from the Director General of Health following that process.
Is it direction or directive?
Directive, thank you, Mayor. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So councillor Crowther, are you?
I think my interpretation of that, not being a lawyer, is that that would mean either the case would be decided or that she would come back and say, whoops, I got it wrong when I said that I won't take enforcement action. I am going to take enforcement action, so you better do it. That's the essence of what we're saying?
And it also captures if there's a directive following the Bill of Rights Act process.
Yes.
So you're comfortable? I'm comfortable supporting that. So that's the new amendment. Is there any other discussion on this? Councillor Baker.
Kia ora. I appreciate the caution that we are trying to take, and I acknowledge that we've had a lot of robust discussions and done a whole bunch of work to try and make the most best, well-informed, community-centric, future-focused decision that we have. My concern is that we're beating around the bush on this particular matter, as hard as difficult as that might be to say or for people to hear. But it's not about fines, as per AB. Can't even see that now; it's too far away from me. No, is that? Yeah, it's not about the fines. It is about whether or not we are or aren't lawful. And our role as good governors is to ensure that we are upholding the law to the best of our ability. And I recall I think it was our first council meeting, and I can't recall her name, and I probably won't mention her here either, but we had a community member come in around the no democracy, no rates debate, and her argument was that she doesn't feel the need to pay rates because her voice wasn't represented at the table. My opinion is that if we as the leaders, as the governors of the city, choose not to comply with the law, then we are allowing our community members then to dictate situations like that as well, and then to effectively use this as their scapegoat for examples like that to not pay their rates. That's all right, they can do what they want. And so I think on that matter, we need to be able to set the right example by upholding the law and being upholden to law should we not comply as well. So I'm probably going to do you understand the point that I'm trying to make here is that we need to set example, regardless of what our residents do and what our community members do, we need to make sure that we uphold the law and set the example that they need so that they can follow as well. Otherwise, we're going to allow any person and their dog and their cat to not pay their fines, to not pay their rates, to not pay for this, that, and the other thing. And regardless of how they might go about and the letters that they might write to us about their concerns, we still need to do what we need to do to uphold the law. And so that's the position so I don't support the current amendment as it's written, and I support what Jen had put up originally.
Thank you, Councillor Baker. Councillor Shirley.
Yeah, and again, this is difficult, and the more we add, the more complex it gets. But I do agree with Councillor Baker, and I do support the original motion. It's not an easy one. Well, it's easy to stand here and talk about it, and we have done that a lot, and we as a group all have our own personal views. But for me, we need to stay within the law, and we have to follow that process. And it's not being weak. It's not being weak. It's just doing what's right, and I think we need to understand that. And I understand everyone in the community. This is a sensitive issue, and I understand everyone has different views. And you know, it's happened before. It's happened around the country. We have this decision in front of us to make today, and I support the original motion.
Thank you. So if there's no other discussion, we'll put the amendment to a vote. So the amendment, as I read out before, with that small change until the conclusion of the Bill of Rights Act judicial review process or subsequent directive from the Director General of Health following that process. I therefore ask all those in favour, aye.
Do a show of hands.
Show of hands, so that's Councillor Morris, Crowther, Roseboom, Drysdale.
Yes.
Those against?
Against is. Incorrect.
Okay, that, yes, we've asked for a division. So for everyone, for that amendment was myself, Councillor Crowther, Councillor Roseboom, and Councillor Morris. And against was Councillor Schooler, Councillor Baker, Councillor Kurak, Councillor Schuler, and Councillor Taylor. That motion is denied, so we'll go back to the original motion. And I would now, right of reply to Councillor Kurak and Councillor Schooler. No? All right, I therefore, if we can get that original motion up, I'll just read the original motion. Which is receives the report fluoridation of Tauranga City's water supply, notes the letter from the Director General of Health which declines Council's request for an extension to the direction requiring fluoridation of the city's water supply by 30th of November 2024 and highlights that contravening a direction is an offence with potentially significant penalties. Revokes resolution CO 18/24/1C, which reads, does not proceed with fluoridation of the water supply until the completion of the judicial review court process, regardless of whether extension B1 is granted, and acknowledges a preference to wait for court cases in New Zealand to be resolved and for personal assurance from the Director General of Health that fluoride is safe and that adding fluoride involves no unjustified limitations on rights set out under the Bill of Rights Act. Legal advice received requires that in order to remain lawful, Council will take the only option available and comply with the directive of the Director General of Health to fluoridate the potable water supply, water system of Tauranga, starting on the 24th of October 2024 to meet the directive deadlines. I therefore ask for all those in favour. We hold a division. That is Councillor Morris, Councillor Taylor, Councillor Schuler, Councillor Schooler, Councillor Baker and Councillor Kurak. Those against? No. That's Councillor Roseboom, Councillor Crowther and myself, the Mayor. That is carried. That therefore ends this meeting, and I'd like to thank everyone for your presence today, and thank you for quite a robust discussion and debate, and obviously although we were split, you know, that is a council decision. And for those opposed, like myself, you know, we will go with democracy and allow that decisions to stand. So thank you very much. Sorry, we're just.
And the thing is, no one's been tricked. I totally agree with you. And I think, you know what I think will happen? I think that this will rise up again following the new stuff. So I've been reading all those meta-analysis. NTP has, like every time it gets updated, there's more data.
Do I need to close the meeting? Yeah. Okay, I now declare that the meeting is closed at 2:52 PM. Thank you.
Are we having a small break or back into it?
Yes, we are.